Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunnyside podcast. Today, I am joined by Lawrence Troemel. He is the CEO of a company called NobleTec. I'm going to let Lawrence introduce himself. Lawrence, how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing great today, Finn. How you doing?
Flying. Really good day so far. Well, listen, you're a very established gentleman in the space, so I can't wait to unpack everything that we're going to go through today. So, Lawrence, could you give us a little bit of an overview of who you are and what you guys are doing at NobleTec, please?
Absolutely. I've been in the IT industry for over 40 years now. Um, Despite my youthful appearance, I've been doing it for a
I was
long
going to say, I was going to say.
time. No, I look every year of those 40 years working in the IT industry, but it's been a beautiful experience. I'm presently the president and CEO of a company called NobleTec. NobleTec has been around now for about 7 years. We employ about 50 both salespeople and technical people and other various departments and workers. We cater mostly to the SMB space, and by SMB I mean small business, small and medium sized businesses. Uh, we work exclusively right now in the United States. We have just a handful of accounts in Europe, overseas. But for the most part, it's North America, and the revenues keep growing, and the business keeps growing, and we're just really enjoying taking care of our customers and growing our business.
Nice. That's a great overview. So is it just managed services then? When you say like IT, like what is the actual value proposition that you're actually giving to a client? Do you have options? Is it just like a one stop like IT support, or do you have other kind of pillars into your offering? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it is very much a one-stop shop, business technology from one source. So we are a combination of an MSP slash VAR value-added reseller. But the emphasis is really on the managed services and the helping the customers identify the right IT products, installing those products, helping them maintain them, monitoring them, patching them, just the ongoing service. But we also do sell a lot of equipment. We're set up with all the major distributors and major manufacturers to sell a wide variety of hardware and software products. But the emphasis is on the MSP side at this point.
Interesting. So you've been going for 7 years. Could we talk a little bit about your journey prior to starting NobleTech? Obviously, you've grown pretty rapidly, so I'd like to unpack obviously the
Yeah.
foundations that's obviously caused you to grow as quick as you did.
We're not the typical startup company. It's not like two guys decided to start a pub together and have never
Yeah.
been in the industry before. Myself and my two partners, we've known each other for 20 plus years. We had lots of customers
Yeah.
that we've been engaging with for a long time. So when we first opened the doors, a lot of customers were willing to take a chance on us just because they knew us for a long time, prior to opening the doors. And a lot of the employees that we hire are also people that we've known in the IT industry for many, many years. They also have customers in turn that were loyal to them. So we have that advantage that most of our employees were people that we've known, so we know what we're getting ahead of time, and that creates it's good because there's less turnover. We know what we're getting into, they know what they're getting into, and there's just a good relationship from the very get-go. And it's the same thing with customers. We have very little turnover with customers because they're so used to already working with our people. So we're not that average like startup company that just is kind of starting from scratch and has to go out and find their very first customers and doesn't know what is taking chance on employees.
Yeah.
A lot of that risk and those chances are taken out of the equation because we all have known each other for so many years. And I think that's been a major part of our success and our ability to grow very quickly is because we're not constantly, grinding down people and turning over people and starting again and reaching out to customers for the very first time. A lot of that was
Absolutely.
built into the process. Yeah,
And that is obviously a massive benefit. I mean, looking back,
absolutely.
what are some of the things that you took, some of the lessons, some of the lessons that you took from prior to starting Noble Tech that have really helped you along the way, or was it similar? Is it kind of as expected, or is it harder than what you actually thought when you were first starting out?
Well, I personally, I'm somewhat of an entrepreneur, so I've built and sold a couple of companies earlier in my career prior
Oh,
to this
okay.
company. So I had a little, I had a pretty good understanding of what to expect and how things would happen. I think one of the surprises here at this company was just such a rapid growth, and that's a good problem to have. So I'm
Yeah.
not complaining. I'm certainly thankful and happy for it, but it does create issues. It does create sometimes cash flow issues. It creates just having the right resources in place and you have to be a good planner if you're going to grow rapidly and not fail. A lot of companies, they grow rapidly and then they fail because they just grow too fast and they don't take care of their customers and they don't have the cash to support their growth and bad things start happening. So we've been very smart about building a business the right way and very much by design, hiring the good technical people in advance and not waiting and getting the business and then going into scramble mode to try to find people that can go and service the account. It's a little bit risky to do that because you gotta keep those people working and active. You can't just have them sitting on their hands waiting for service calls and things to happen. But we tend to plan very well. We strategize. We set goals. We put things in place of tools and people and things that we need, and we go and we get those things, and then we go to the market, and then we go to our customers and let them know we've done it the right way. We have these different things in place. So when we take on those customers, we do a great job from day one, and I think that's been another key to our success.
Which is obviously just doing a great job putting the customers first. So just me being curious then, what would you say, like, you said setting up the business the right way, in a good way. What, if we flip that, what would be setting up the business in a bad way? Like, what would that actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, some of our competitors. I mean, we hear these stories all the time from customers. Is that a competitor will take on some business and they don't have the right technicians that have the skill sets to do the kind of work that the customer is looking for, and then they get that business and they lock them into an agreement, or they take their money, and then
Yeah.
they go into scramble mode and try to figure out a technician that can handle the workload. And that's, to me, that's the wrong way of being in the IT industry. You don't fake it until you make it. You build, it's kind of the field of dreams here, they call it, where you build it and they will come. And if you build it and it's nice and it's beautiful and you have the right, talent and the right people in place, and you have a good NOC, a network operating center, and you have the right software tools, and you can do all the things that you're telling the customer you can do, and you really have those things. When you take on that customer, it's going to be a good experience. But conversely, we've seen, and customers have told us these kind of nightmare stories where they lock into agreements only to find out that the company that they contracted with doesn't really have the technical people or doesn't have the tools that they need to do the job properly. And then they're looking at trying to get out of an agreement, and you got to bring legal involved, and there's other problems, and it just becomes a really bad situation. So we really try to be proactive. We really try to invest the money into the right people and into the right tools and stuff. So when we take on a customer and we tell them that we can support a certain type of IT or we can do a certain project within a certain time frame, we're going to do it, and we're going to make it a very good experience for the customer.
And at the end of the day, putting the customer first is that is what the business does, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't fail on that thing. So my question is, when you've gone.
You're absolutely right, Finn. I think that's it's kind of a common expression, customer first, and all that kind of stuff. And
Seems a bit
and
cringy,
I
but
think,
like, yeah.
yeah, it's become such a popular thing to say. I think sometimes it loses its meaning, and I think sometimes the leaders of companies, forget how really important that really is to take care of the customer and make sure they're happy. And a lot of companies have lots of slogans and little sayings and things. And we do too. But right in our mission statement, we make the customer experience like the number one priority. The customer experience, the employee experience, working with the vendors. Those are really our main three focuses, or our mission statement of the company is if we got happy employees, we got happy customers, and all of our suppliers and partners are happy, we're going to have a very successful company. And sometimes companies lose sight of that because they add a different equation. They become so big that now they have stockholders, and they're trying to sell shares of stock, so they cut corners and they want to increase their profits so they can sell more shares of stock, and things start to suffer. Whether it's the employees suffer or the customers, things happen. But thankfully, we're not in that position.
That, I think that's absolutely key, and at the end of the day, like that is why you get money, isn't it? To do a good service. Like people do forget that.
Yeah.
But you mentioned about happy employees, and we're going to touch on that in a second, because there was something that you said earlier around, obviously as you grow, and you said you were spending your money, investing your money wisely. Was that mainly on staff, or was there other things that you was investing on the come up?
Yeah, a variety of different things. Mostly on the employees, and getting the good talent, and paying them, above what the market is at, and then a lot of recognition for the employees. Awards, contests, trips. Just I throughout the day we do something called a win wire, and this is where we recognize employees that have maybe closed a piece of business, or they've done something kind of unique, or what we recognize as being just a really good job for that day. So we constantly try to send out win wires, and share what's going on with what other employees are accomplishing at the company. But it's more than just investing money in employees. In the IT services industry, you have to have the right software tools, and by that I mean, we try to be very transparent that when we open up like a service call for a computer product, not only do we have good tracking mechanisms on it, on that service call, but we give that transparency to our customers, where they can come into our systems and they can look and see what we're doing behind the scenes. They can see if we've escalated the service ticket. They can see if we've closed a ticket, if we've ordered a part, or we've ordered a tool, or we've ordered something. We want that to be completely transparent. We don't want the customer to feel like they had a problem with us. They called and they asked for our help, and now they don't hear anything for hours or days until the thing gets closed. They have the right to see every step we're taking, how we're escalating it, and what work we're doing, so they feel good that there's being progress made on whatever that IT problem was. So we invest in a lot of tools, a lot of software products. Even the salespeople, we give them really good tools to go and find customers, to identify what we think is a good fit for a customer. And I mentioned earlier, we try to go after like SMB customers, or those small and medium-sized customers. So we give them tools that allow them to go out and figure out companies that are the right size, in the right type of vertical, and identify those companies, and then reach out to them and see if they'd be interested in working with us.
That makes sense. We're gonna touch on that in a second, because I think that's really key. But going back to employees, and how important has it been to obviously pay over market rate, and how important has culture been inside of the business, and what type of culture are you kind of pushing towards your staff and employees?
What a great question, Finn. I think in the age of AI and automation and all the cool technology things that are going on nowadays, I think it's still important, and I don't think it's ever going to go out of style, is when you create a business to create a really good foundation of a culture. And the culture should be one of teamwork, and it should be one of winning, and enjoying the successes, and not resting on your laurels, and continuing to enjoy the successes. And you think of your sports dynasties, and teams that win every single year, and they just seem like they're always in the top couple teams. I think often it's because they've established such a culture of winning, and just such an identity of that. That's the expectation. That every year in and out that you perform to the top level. You can't take a couple years off. And I think we've done a good job of both recognizing employees and setting creating a culture where people feel like they want to win and they're part of a team, and everybody enjoys the wins, and we succeed together and we help each other together, and it's a nice place to work. Nowadays everybody wants to work from home, and everybody doesn't necessarily want to be in the office, and I understand it. There's a lot, sometimes people are a lot more productive when they work from home. Sometimes they get more work done, and that's all wonderful. But at our company, people enjoy working, and they enjoy interacting with other peers and even the management team, to talk about what they're working on and what's going on. And there's a sense that people enjoy actually working, and they're not trying to figure out ways to get out of work or work less hours a week, or it's a good feeling when people enjoy their jobs, and some of them like actually coming in and being around it and seeing other people's smiles and happiness with a job well done here at the company. So I'm very proud of that, and that's all goes back to the culture and creating the right kind of atmosphere, and not having the prima donnas or the people with attitude like kind of running the office, or too much negativity or those kinds of things. You really got to create a happy, good work environment.
So you think the main culture is around winning and just being a getter and just going to do it and just being fun, being happy, which is great. So when you are looking to hire somebody, do you think that you spot that in an individual, or is that kind of they come in and then you kind of embed that into them?
Yeah, again, we have the benefit of a lot of the people we've hired. We already know what we're getting ahead of time. We already know that we're getting that. So that's a wonderful thing. But there are lots of people here that we didn't know for 20 years, and we look for that. And we'll ask questions, Finn, such as, are you content to make X amount of dollars? Are you going to try to continue to earn more and find different ways to be productive? Tell us some of your goals in life. Share with us, where you see yourself in the near future, and are you looking for a company that you can grow with? Are you if you ask more of those kinds of questions, and not just concentrate on what skills they presently have, but where they want to be in the future and what they still want to accomplish, you'll start to get a sense of those people that have a little drive in them and have a little ambition in them, from the ones that are very content to just kind of stay where they're at, maybe for the rest of their life. And it's a lot easier to take somebody who's really gung-ho and really excited and enthusiastic, and tell them that maybe calm down just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that. It's harder to take a person that has no drive or no energy and try to get them motivated to become more and work a little bit harder. So we tend to hire the people that are very enthusiastic and enjoy working and enjoy having a nice career.
Okay, that makes complete sense, and I would agree. When you're actually looking to employ someone, is that the main thing that you're looking for, enthusiasm and drive, or is there any other attributes that you're also looking for?
Well, yeah, we want them to have the basic skill sets of so if it's a technical position, it's kind of like a football team or a sports organization. You're trying to find people that have different skill sets. Maybe one has Microsoft skills. Maybe one has switching or storage skills, and they have certain certifications. And collectively, as you hire these different people with all the different certifications, you have a really well-rounded team. So pretty much anything the customer, any kind of project the customer presents to you, you have a guy or you have multiple people that can handle that type of workload. So having the different skill sets and the certifications is very important. I'm not going to say it's not. But we also, we can take people that have the basic willingness to learn and have a technical inclination, and we can give them the training, and we can send them to classes and courses to get those certifications. So it doesn't necessarily mean if you don't have those that we won't hire you. It's nice if you already have them, because then we don't have to spend additional money to get there. But it's not, it doesn't disclude you from coming and working if you don't have every certification that we're looking for. With the salespeople, we look for people that are really good listeners. We look for people that have nice personalities, that are likable. I'm kind of old school, that I think people like to buy from people that they like. And if you got a salesperson that is just, for whatever reason, you don't click with them, you don't like them, you can't get along, you're not going to buy from them. You'll find somebody else to buy from, even if you pay a little bit more money, or you got to go through an extra hoop or two, because I still believe that people like to buy from people that they just basically like.
100%. And I'm going to touch back onto that in a second, because I would like to touch on sales and marketing and stuff like that. But going back to you hiring, basically you're looking for competent people who are driven. But would you agree that, so when you ask questions like, are you content earning X amount of dollars? Are you looking to stay in the company? Would you agree that that type of demographic tend to normally be entrepreneurs and business owners? Like, how would you so say if you did ask someone that question and they said, well, to be honest, like I want to be successful, I want to run my own business, how are you kind of having that as a business owner yourself?
What a great question, Finn. It's tricky business, because you want people that want to learn and that are willing to grow with your company, and they're a little bit gung ho, and they're enthusiastic and stuff, but they also have to be reasonable. They if they want to do things that just aren't, that we don't need the kind of positions. I've had people sit in interviews that, I want your job in the next year.
Yeah.
Well, it took me 40 years to get here. That's probably not realistic. And I'm not looking to hire my replacement right now. So let's be more reasonable, and let's talk about what we're really trying to do here. So sometimes there's people that can go to the extremes that, you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to be a good fit. Yeah. You also, I was talking with my partner earlier this morning, and I think a lot of candidates nowadays in the IT world, they jump around jobs so much. Every 6 months they're changing jobs. And I think that in their mind, they're doing that because they keep getting exposed to new technology, and they keep, learning different things. And to some extent, that's a good thing. You want people that, been exposed to a lot of different technologies at different places and different things. But if you look at it from the employer's perspective, it's a little concerning, because I look at it and think, okay, I'm going to probably invest some money to get this person trained and certified, and I got to start introducing them to customers, and how much am I going to invest if there's a great likelihood that in 6 months from now or 1 year from now, they're going to bail on me and they're going to go to the next company. So I think people need to be conscious of that, and maybe not jump around jobs too much, because employers, even in the IT world, they look at that and they think about how much they're going to invest in the employee, and they worry, are they going to get their money back? Are they going to keep that employee long enough that there's going to be a payback on that?
That's very interesting. So how do you think, what is the trick to retaining good people, do you think? Do you think it's just having progression in the company and the company culture itself?
I think they got to like the company that they work at. I think they got to feel like they're part of something other than just a job, other than just a paycheck. I think if you can get people to feel like they're part of growth, or something bigger, or something very special. You look at companies like Microsoft, that in their early days of business, they didn't pay very much, but they gave out little pieces of stock, and they got people to buy into the idea that Microsoft was going to change the world. And a lot of those early employees, they didn't make anything; they made peanuts. But now they're millionaires because they got just a couple of shares of stock and they cashed that in. I think Microsoft is responsible for making over 10,000 millionaires, and
Really?
that's something to think about. Is that not every employee is just always about give me money, money, money. Give me the biggest paycheck. Employees also want other things. They want recognition. They want to feel part of something bigger. They want to learn. They want to they want to pick up things that'll help them in the future. So there's other things than just money out there. It's important. It's very important. Nobody wants to work for free, or nobody wants to feel like
Absolutely.
they're underpaid. But if you could pay them, a little bit above what the market is, and you can start giving them some of those other things, and you can give them recognition and awards and maybe a perk of a trip here and there, and a vacation and all those other fun things, I think you'll hang on to your employees.
I think I think that's key, because you just got to position yourselves in their shoes, haven't you? Which is just like, yeah, just being feeling like they're actually loved and like they're actually somebody, not just another number. Which is obviously harder to do the bigger you grow as a company,
Yeah.
I presume. Okay, let's jump back onto the sales and the marketing point of view. So, would you mind giving us a little bit of a rundown? So, I assume that you've got a sales team. You're not like owner-led sales anymore.
Yeah.
At what
Well,
point did that happen, and how was it
I
kind of
do
set
still get
up?
involved with sales because that's kind of like my background or my history.
Okay.
I think it's important for any kind of manager to kind of stay involved and hear what the customers are saying and be able to do different people's jobs and be involved. So I do still stay involved, but you're absolutely right. We've got a team of about 15 salespeople. And these are all full time employees of ours. We don't outsource that. We don't just
Yeah.
hire companies to do our sales on our behalf. So there are employees, and it's a very hardworking group. A very I think we have one of the best sales organizations of any company that I've ever been involved with, or I've seen. And I see a lot of customers and their sales organizations. So they're all very motivated people. You give them lots of incentives. I've always likened salespeople to like professional athletes, and most
Yeah.
professional athletes have, they have a base amount that they receive, but then they got all sorts of incentives if they score an extra goal, or if they play so many games, or if whatever the metrics are that you measure, they get extra money. And we're very much of that mindset here at this company, that for our sales organization, if they sell certain product categories that we consider to be the most important product categories, we give them extra money. If they make so many different categories during the year, then they win a President's Club trip where they go to a nice luxury resort for a week and hang out in the sun and just have fun. If
Nice.
they if they do certain things that are leadership related or teamwork related, we have a separate award for that. So there's a lot of like financial and awards types of incentives that we put in place to just help constantly motivate the people. And then I mentioned earlier just sharing the win wires and the success stories, and I think if you send a lot of those out, people just it becomes something that they become so used to that if you don't send a win wire out in one particular day, everybody scratches their head and said, "Wait a second, do we have a bad day? Nobody had like a big
Yeah.
success," and it just becomes so ingrained and just part of like what you do every day that I got to create something good here today. I got to have a win wire today. I got to have a success story today, and we see that a lot at this company.
Okay, it makes sense. And obviously, you're just motivating and making sure that they've got some skin in the game and they're actually up for it. And again, just being driven. What what is their time actually spent on doing? Is it just like prospecting? Like, are they picking up the phone and like cold calling companies, or are they doing like account management, or like how are you like getting in touch with new businesses?
All of the above. So you hit on something there that's real interesting. So some companies that I've worked at, they want the salespeople only selling. They don't want them putting in orders into a system. They don't want them doing certain administrative tasks. And then I've worked at some companies that they'd have an inside salesperson and then they'd have a different outside salesperson. And the inside salesperson would do a lot of the clerical work and the paperwork and the ordering and stuff. And the outside salesperson would be kind of like that, kind of entertaining person that would take the customer out for lunch or dinner or out to golf or, the kind of the fun stuff, if you will. We as a company, our salespeople are pretty comprehensive. We ask them to do pretty much everything. So they will prospect, they'll find the customers. We give them lots of tools to find customers. We also have a telemarketing team that helps locate like warm leads for them. But they will reach out to the customers. They'll start the relationship. They'll take the orders. They'll put the orders into our system. They'll follow up on the orders. They'll go out and take the customer out for lunch or dinner. They'll build the relationship. We are a strong believer in building really good long-term customer relationships. We have lots of opportunities where we can just quote on something, bid on something, and it's just a low price and you win, and that's the only order you might ever get from that customer. And those are kind of frustrating accounts. We like those customers that are open-minded to having a really good relationship. And by really good relationship, I mean where they give us a chance on a wide variety of different types of things. We don't win everything, but at least they give us a chance to bid or quote on lots of different projects. And they're willing to let us come and visit them every now and then and check out their environment and see what they're working on. And they come to our environment and see, the teams we put, play. And it's more than just strictly 100% business. It's fun. You get to know the customer. You get to know maybe the spouse or the kids, or you go to a wedding or a birthday party, and those are the kinds of relationships we really, really enjoy. Because it just makes the day so much more fun when you're working with people that you like talking to, that you enjoy.
Definitely.
You feel like you have something a little bit more than just such a 100% business relationship, and we enjoy those relationships.
Yeah, and I feel like that's healthy inside, like for everybody as well. Like actually having a good relationship with someone and not necessarily transactional. Nice. So also, how are you guys actually positioning yourself in the market? Like, what are your kind of marketing strategies that you've seen some success with over the years, and like how are you actually doing that?
Yeah, the crazy thing for us is that we really enjoy competing against the largest companies out there. So. In our world, there's a handful of companies that they call them the large VARs, or the large resellers, and these are multi-billion-dollar companies. And on paper, you think that you're getting the best price from them because they're so big. They must have better buying power. They must be getting such deep discounts that nobody can compete with them. And it turns out in the IT world, at least here in North America, it's the exact opposite. We're now in a world where everybody from, whether it's Microsoft or it's Dell or it's, HP or Lenovo, all these major brand names, everybody gets almost the same pricing to start. There's not super deep discounts to the really, these huge partners. A lot of it has to do with getting a good registration. And you get the registration if you can show the manufacturer that you're really engaged, that you're not just shooting a quote out, that you've been talking with the customer about this particular product for a long time, and you're really working closely with that end user. Then the manufacturer will give you a special registration, or something better than the rest of the group that might be quoting on that. So any company can do that. It's a matter of really engaging and working with the customers. So the big companies don't have an advantage in that way. And then the other cool thing is that when you're a much smaller company and you're not that multi-billion-dollar company, you don't have the overhead. So and you don't have the layers and layers of middle management. So when my sales rep comes to me and says, I want to go really aggressive on that, I want to earn this business, I want to get my foot in the door and start building this relationship, I don't have layers and layers of middle management that I got to build into that quote. There's only me and the sales rep and maybe one manager in between that, we can go really aggressive, and we can win the business. And I have the flexibility to do things that the giant companies just can't do. So I really like it. We like to position ourselves against these really big companies. We do very well. When it's the smaller companies that are my size or smaller, that's where it becomes a real dogfight. Because now,
Yeah.
now we're facing the same company that has all the same weapons and tools that we have, and it's a matter of who's building a better relationship, and who the customer likes more in many cases, and that goes back to people buy from people that they like, but we try to position ourselves is that company that is just big enough that we know all the registrations, we sell all the products, we do all the different things, but we're not so big that I have layers of middle management, and it's hard for us to make quick decisions and pivot on things and do things.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. One more question before we wrap up, Lawrence. I assume that you're kind of looking to scale this business up to get to the next level, obviously in regards to like revenue and stuff. What do you think has to happen inside of the business to get to that next level? What is there something that you need to add or subtract or trim the fat off, or what do you think that would be?
Yeah, what a great question. So, every company that continues scaling up needs the cash flow, and we're not, we're no different than everybody else. So, excuse me.
That's okay.
Can you edit that out?
Yeah, of course I can.
I won't die on here. I just got something a little stuck in my throat.
That's okay. Take your time.
What a great question about scaling up and continuing the growth, because it is hard to continue to grow at just, like the rocket ship. Most companies are happy if they have just a nice pattern of growth, and we've been kind of growing like a rocket ship. So is that sustainable? Probably not, without doing some things to improve our cash flow. And that might mean, maybe working with a private equity company. That might mean, doing something with credit lines, or maybe some type of fundraising or something, because you need the cash to grow. You need the cash to keep hiring all the talented technical people to build a bigger space, to build a bigger knock center, and it all takes money. It all takes cash. And if you're taking every dollar you have and funneling it back into the company, and that's pretty much what we've been doing. At some point you might need to have some extra money to get to that next layer, to that next tier. So we're very aware of that. The managed services space right now, managed service providers, MSPs, it is probably one of the hottest markets for private equity companies to come into MSPs and to take a piece of the business. And what you get in return is you get some cash to help you even grow even faster, and you get some high level advice, some high level financial advice. You can take advantage of their accounting, and their legal teams and different things that they have. So there's a lot of benefits for doing that. The trick is to maybe not give away too much of your company while you're trying to grow it. But there's no shortage of private equity companies and investment banks that are looking to get into that MSP space, because it's just not going away. It's getting bigger and stronger every year. And I think a lot of the manufacturers have come to the realization that they want the partnerships to be with MSPs. They don't want it to be with like the box pushing VAR types of companies. Those transactional types of companies, they don't have that deep consulting relationship with the customers. And a good MSP has that deep consulting relationship with customers, so they rely on the MSP to figure out which products they should even be buying. So you have a lot of influence on that. And I just think that's where the IT world is going. It's going towards more security companies that really understand, how to sell security products and install security products and maintain it. They're looking for managed services companies that they can just outsource a lot of their equipment to, and consulting companies. And I think that the end users are not engaged as much with these just giant VARs that they just buy boxes from. So I think that there's a lot more financial companies that are coming after these MSPs and willing to help invest and help you grow. And then it's just a question of how much of your company do you give up to them, to make that additional growth.
It's interesting, and I appreciate you sharing that. It's an insightful to hear for me, and obviously for you, it's a big decision to make, isn't it? Obviously, giving up a piece of the pie is not an easy decision, but to get to like a bigger thing, it's like it's one of them. We've got the pros and cons, isn't it? So yeah.
It really does. It really does, Finn. And it's stuff that I lose sleep over. And then here's the other thing. The last thing you want to do is give up too much control of your company, and then only to find out that the private equity that you were getting along great with maybe has other intentions of what they want to do with you, and they want to chop employees, or they want to go a different direction or do different things, and now you don't have the control to say no to that.
Yeah.
So it's very complex, but the really good news is that there is no shortage of companies in the world that want to invest in MSPs right now, and what they'll pay, based on your EBITDA and the multiple that they'll give you, it's getting better and better. So it's a fun problem to have, is that you have a lot of suitors that come along that say, hey, you've done something really good here. We want to help get you to that next level, and we want to invest in you. That's the great thing. Just figuring out the exact right one to partner with, that's a little trickier.
Can't rush that either. That's the good things come to those who wait, and everything happens for a reason. But no, listen, Lawrence, I really appreciate you coming on. What a conversation it's been. I've learned quite a lot. So, I mean, if the viewers and the audience are looking to get in touch with you, where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn a ton. So NobleTec on LinkedIn. Our website, NobleTec.com. Come check us out. All the phone numbers and the email addresses and stuff are both on the website. And LinkedIn, we're very active on LinkedIn social media. But I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Finn, and thank you for inviting me onto your show. I think it's a wonderful format to just kind of let companies talk about what they're doing and where they're going. So I appreciate it.
No worries. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.